When I was 14, we moved halfway across the country to Texas, and I was terrified I'd end up like one of those movie kids, the awkward new girl everyone ignores. So I joined the gymnastics team, hoping it would help me fit in. The girls weren't the mean queen bees I expected. In fact, they were kind of great. But our coach? That was a different story. Coach Helen was intense. Always shouting, always red in the face, and always blowing that whistle like it was her personal war cry. On my first day, someone whispered that she'd allegedly hit a student once. I dismissed it as gossip, until I saw how she treated us. Within days, she'd called me a joke and made fun of my body just because I was a bit slower during practice. Which, by the way, was because I had cramps. Her idea of motivation? Shaming. Publicly. Loudly. Ruthlessly. My friend Kayla, though, practically worshipped her. When her period was due, she'd eat only lemons and ice to delay it. She looked like a ghost, but Coach Helen acted like that made her elite. She'd even gift Kayla custom gear, saying, "This is what happens when you stop making excuses." Then she'd turn to someone else, usually Salma, and make a comment about her thighs or dessert. Nobody laughed, but we all pretended to. Things got dark fast. At lunch, the team barely ate. One girl would unwrap a single Ferrero Rocher and call it her meal. We downloaded calorie counting apps, tracked missed periods like trophies, and made sure Coach Helen saw our effort. I tried to play along, skipping desserts, sneaking food at home, but the pressure didn't stop. One day I took a bite of bread and the whole table went silent. That's when I realized how warped things had gotten. Sometimes Coach Helen took us out to celebrate wins. Halfway through dinner, girls would vanish to the bathroom. They'd come back looking pale, eyes watery, clothes stained. She'd smile and say, "You're finally starting to look like real gymnasts." And I started to believe it. I even gave in and started taking appetite blockers one of the girls had. We were winning. Everyone praised us. But I wasn't okay. Then came the moment that changed everything. I was on a trip with my mom, getting ready at the hotel. I lifted my arms to open the curtains, and she just gasped. I turned to the mirror and saw what she saw. Not a strong gymnast, not a healthy teenager, just someone who looked frail, sick, hollow. That's when it hit me. This wasn't discipline. It was destruction. My mom's voice broke as she asked what happened. I just said, "I'll stop." And I meant it. When school resumed, I sat the team down at lunch. I told them it wasn't normal to black out when you stand up, or to sleep 16 hours and still feel exhausted, or to go months without a cycle. They stared at me like I'd grown two heads. So I did the unthinkable. I pulled out a Popeye's chicken sandwich and took a big bite. You'd think I lit the cafeteria on fire. One girl turned pale. Another looked like she might faint. And that was just the beginning. The moment I took a bite of that sandwich, everything changed. Coach Helen stormed into the cafeteria like she was entering a battlefield, whistle swinging, eyes locked on me like I'd committed a felony. The whole room went quiet. All you could hear was the crinkle of the Popeye's wrapper in my hand. She marched right up to our table and hissed, "What do you think you're doing?" Her voice was low but sharp enough to cut through the silence. I swallowed hard and said, "Eating lunch?" Like it was the most normal thing in the world, even though my heart was racing. The other girls looked horrified. Madison literally had her hands over her eyes. Coach Helen snatched the sandwich out of my hand and tossed it straight into the trash. Then she leaned in so close I could smell the perfume she bathed in and said, "Team meeting, after school. Don't be late." And just like that, she spun around and marched off. The tension at the table was unbearable. My phone lit up nonstop for the rest of the day. Everyone was asking what I was thinking. Selma sent a single crying emoji with, "Rip your gymnastics career." And by sixth period, the story had evolved. Someone said I had thrown a sandwich at Coach Helen's face. After the final bell, I dragged myself to the gym. Everyone was already there, sitting in a semicircle like it was some kind of courtroom. The empty spot in the front? Mine. "Nice of you to join us, Mackenzie," she said, using my full name like it was a warning shot. She walked the room like a predator, reminding everyone this wasn't a hobby. It was elite athletics. Our bodies, instruments, and apparently, I was fueling mine with fast food. She made Kayla stand and show how much better her backflips had gotten, now that she wasn't weighed down. I felt awful. Not just embarrassed, but genuinely ashamed. Was I actually letting them all down? Then came the final blow. "I think we need to address the chicken sandwich incident," she said, looking right at me. "Do you have anything you'd like to say to your teammates?" I looked at the circle of girls. my teammates, my friends, and opened my mouth before I even knew what I was going to say. But then I remembered my mom's face in the hotel, the panic in her voice. I remembered how my body felt. I remembered the truth. Yeah, I do, I said, my voice shaking. I think we're all getting sick. Dead silence. Brenda passed out last week. Catherine hasn't had her period in months. We're dizzy, we're exhausted. This isn't normal. Coach Helen's face went stone cold. That's called commitment. No, I said. That's called an eating disorder. You could feel the air leave the room. No one had ever said it out loud before. Until now. Kayla stood up, eyes blazing. Coach is just trying to help us be our best. Maybe you should quit if you can't handle it. Some girls nodded. But I didn't see teammates anymore. I saw a group of girls so scared, so drained, they didn't even realize how deep they were in. Practice starts in 5 minutes, Coach Helen barked. Anyone who's not ready can find another team. Everyone scrambled. Selma paused just long enough to mouth sorry before rushing to change. I stayed frozen, alone, wondering if I was the only one seeing clearly, or if I'd lost my mind. That night, I couldn't sleep. My legs ached from drills she'd made me do for 2 hours straight while the others worked on their routines. I barely made it to the car, and when I got home, I collapsed into bed and cried. Not from exhaustion, because I'd never felt so isolated in my life. My mom brought me a plate of spaghetti and sat beside me. Do you want to talk about it? I told her everything. The meeting, the judgment, the way it felt like I was betraying people just by eating. She looked me in the eyes and asked, "Do you want to quit?" Part of me did, but the other part, stubborn and tired, couldn't let go. No, I'm staying. But I'm done starving myself for a sport. The next few days felt strange. Coach Helen barely looked at me unless it was to criticize something. And the other girls? They weren't talking to me either, not yet. But something had shifted, and I wasn't about to stay silent anymore. Most of the girls avoided me, except Salma. She'd sometimes whisper a quick, "You got this," when no one was watching. But Kayla? She had fully transformed into Coach Helen's second-in-command, calling out my mistakes before the coach could even open her mouth. That Thursday, I was struggling with my balance beam routine. I kept wobbling during the turns, probably because my body was adjusting to, actual nutrition again. I was eating normal meals now, and it showed. Coach Helen made me repeat the same sequence over and over. 15 times, in front of the whole team. "This is what happens when you choose fast food over fitness," she announced loud enough for the walls to hear. "Mackenzie used to do this in her sleep." I clenched my jaw and kept going. My legs were trembling, but I refused to give up. On the 16th try, I nailed it. I looked over at her, hoping, just hoping, for a nod. A blink. Something. Instead, she blew her whistle. Water break. Everyone except Mackenzie. She still owes me 5 more for wasting our time. As the others walked off, I heard Kayla say, loud and proud, "That's why Coach Helen is the best. She doesn't let anyone slack." I wanted to yell. Instead, I did the routine 5 more times. And every time, it was sharper than the last, powered by straight-up fury. Later, as I was changing in the locker room, I overheard Coach Helen speaking just outside the door to assistant coach Tyler. Her voice was cold. "We need to make an example of her," she said. "The others are watching. If they think they can eat whatever and still perform, everything I've built falls apart." Tyler's voice was lower, almost unsure. "I caught something about it maybe going too far, that some parents might raise concerns." Coach Helen laughed. "Parents want results, Tyler. They don't care how we get them." I froze mid-change, my t-shirt halfway over my head. They were talking about me, planning something. I finished dressing in record time and slipped out the back of the gym. That night, I didn't sleep. Make an example of her. What did that even mean? Kick me off the team? Push me harder until I cracked? I tossed and turned until my alarm went off at 6 a.m. for morning practice. But when I walked into the gym, I instantly knew something was off. Everyone was already there. Usually I was one of the first. Coach Helen stood in the center of the room like she was about to host a game show, with a digital scale next to her. "Good morning, Mackenzie," she said with a fake smile. "Today we're doing weigh-ins." My stomach sank. In all the months I'd been on this team, we'd never done public weigh-ins. Sure, Coach Helen would make comments about our appearance or poke at our legs. But this? This was new. "Line up," she ordered. "Leotards only. No warm-ups." One by one, the girls stepped up. Coach Helen noted each weight in a small black notebook, sometimes nodding, sometimes frowning. When it was Kayla's turn, she actually clapped. "This is the standard," she said. "Perfect maintenance." Then it was my turn. I stepped up, heart pounding. The number blinked on the screen. 8 pounds higher than when I was barely eating. Coach Helen's smile vanished. "Well, well, someone's been enjoying their chicken sandwiches." She circled my number in her notebook. "Let this be a lesson. Extra weight means more stress on your joints, more risk, more burden on your teammates." My face burned. Some girls looked away. Others didn't. "Mackenzie will be doing additional conditioning until she's back to her competition weight," she said, "and she's off the group routine for next weekend." That hit like a punch. The group routine was my favorite part. I'd spent weeks practicing it. From the back of the group, someone spoke. "That's not fair." Heads turned. It was Salma. "She hits every move. We need her." Coach Helen narrowed her eyes. "Interesting, Salma. Let's check your progress, shall we?" She flipped through the notebook. "You're up 3 pounds from last month. Care to join Mackenzie in extra conditioning?" Salma looked down. Quiet. I didn't blame her. The rest of practice was a blur. Me doing laps while the others trained. Each time I passed them, I felt a little more hollow. By the end of the week, I was beyond drained. Mentally, physically, emotionally. The meet was tomorrow, and I hadn't even been allowed to practice the team routine. Saturday morning came. I dragged myself to the venue. I wasn't part of the group lineup anymore, but I still had my solo events. While I was warming up, Salma came up beside me. She looked around, then said quietly. Before warm-ups were over, Salma quietly stepped up beside me. "Hey," she whispered, eyes darting around to make sure no one was listening. "I'm sorry about the other day. I should have stood up for you more." I gave a small shrug. "It's okay, I get it. No one wants to be her next target." But Salma hesitated. "There's something else. You need to know. Coach Helen's been talking to the other coaches. She's saying you've got an attitude problem, and that you might try to show off today during your routines." My jaw dropped. "What? Why would she say that?" Salma looked away. "She told Kayla sometimes you have to prune the weak branches to save the tree." Her words, not mine. Before I could respond, Coach Helen's voice cut through the noise. "Ladies, circle up!" We gathered around her like usual. She gave one of her rehearsed pre-competition speeches about excellence, discipline, and representing the team. Then she looked directly at me. "Some of us will be sitting out of certain events today," she said. "As discussed, this is an opportunity to reflect on the importance of commitment." My fists clenched. I didn't say a word. I still had floor, bars, and beam, my individual events. If she thought she could rattle me, she was about to be disappointed. The meet kicked off strong. Kayla crushed her vault routine, highest score of the day. Salma was steady and precise on beam. Then it was my turn. Floor exercise, my strongest event. As I chalked my hands, Coach Helen came up beside me and said, "No unexpected additions to your routine. Stick to what we practiced." I nodded, confused. I never went off script during meets. That's basic. The music started. I launched into the routine and everything clicked. Clean tumbling, sharp dance elements. But then I caught Helen's eyes from across the floor. Her stare was laser-focused. For a split second, I faltered. That hesitation cost me. I landed my second pass awkwardly and stepped out of bounds. I finished strong, but I knew the damage was done. As I walked off, breathless, Coach Helen was already shaking her head. "You know better than that," she said. "You let yourself get distracted." "I got thrown off for a second," I admitted. "Distractions are part of the sport, Mackenzie. Champions learn to block them out." She said it loud enough for nearby coaches to hear, then added with a pat on the shoulder, "Better luck on bars." I was boiling inside, but for bars, I locked in. No distractions, no doubt. Just me and the routine I drilled 1,000 times. When I hit that final dismount perfectly and stuck the landing, I knew I'd nailed it. The crowd actually cheered. Even some teammates clapped. Score, 9.4. My best of the season. Take that, Coach Helen. As I walked back to the team area, one of the judges, an older woman with gray hair, smiled and said quietly, "Nice recovery. Don't let anyone get in your head." I blinked, caught off guard. She knew. Somehow she knew. Before I could say anything back, Coach Helen swooped in, steering me away. "What did she say to you?" she demanded. "Just said nice routine," I lied. Helen squinted at me but didn't press it. "You're up on beam in 20. Get warming up." Beam was my weakest event. Always had been. And yeah, the extra pounds I'd gained from eating like a human being didn't exactly help with balance. As I warmed up, I could feel Helen's eyes burning into me. But when it was finally my turn, something shifted. I wasn't nervous. Maybe I was too exhausted. Maybe I just didn't care what she thought anymore. I climbed onto the beam with a focus I hadn't felt in weeks. Halfway through, I spotted my mom in the stands. She gave me a little thumbs up. And in that moment, everything clicked. I wasn't doing this for Helen, or for Kayla, or for anyone watching. I was doing it for me, because I loved gymnastics. I stuck my routine with only a tiny hop at the end. Not perfect, but definitely my best beam performance of the year. Coach Helen looked genuinely caught off guard. Well, she said, seems you can focus when you want to. Score, 9.1. I placed third overall for beam. By the end of the competition, our team had landed in second place. Not bad considering I'd been pulled from the group routine. During the awards ceremony, we stood on the podium, silver medals around our necks. Coach Helen was all smiles in front of the parents and judges, praising our effort and commitment. To anyone watching, she looked like the perfect coach. Then, as we packed up to leave, the same judge from earlier walked up to me again. "You have real talent," she said. "But talent needs the right environment to grow." She handed me a business card. "My name's Cynthia. I used to coach at UT. If you ever want to talk about your future, call me." I slipped the card into my bag before Helen could notice. "Thank you," I whispered. On the ride home, I sat by myself, staring out the window, thinking. Coach Helen had tried to break me, and I still showed up, still performed, still proved I could do this on my terms. What did it all mean? Could I actually succeed without her? The next day was Sunday, our only break from practice, and instead of sleeping in, I spent the entire morning researching. I read everything I could about eating disorders in athletes, proper nutrition for gymnasts, and ethical coaching standards. What I found confirmed the worst. Coach Helen's methods weren't just aggressive, they were dangerous, possibly even against regulations. I called Cynthia, the retired UT coach who'd given me her card, and she agreed to meet me for coffee somewhere far away from our gym. She was already there when I arrived, looking a lot more at ease than she had at the meet. I told her everything, the starvation diets, the public shaming, the weigh-ins, the manipulation, how Coach Helen had tried to mess with my concentration mid-routine. Cynthia listened without interrupting, occasionally jotting something down. When I finished, she let out a long sigh. "Unfortunately, it's not rare," she said. "Coaches like her feed off young athletes' dreams and parents' hopes. So, there's nothing I can do?" I asked, already bracing for disappointment. "I didn't say that," she replied. "What she's doing is wrong, and it needs to stop. But you'll need evidence and allies." For the next hour, we made a plan. I'd start documenting everything: comments, actions, symptoms. Cynthia gave me contact info for the Regional Gymnastics Association, which actually has strict rules against harmful coaching practices. "The hardest part," she warned, "will be getting the other girls to back you. Most of them are scared, and they've been taught this is just how things are." I thought about Salma, and even Kayla, who was destroying her health trying to be the perfect gymnast. "I have to try," I said. Monday's practice felt like business as usual on the surface. But I noticed Coach Helen kept me separated from the rest of the team as much as possible. Still, I stayed alert, mentally noting every cruel comment, every unreasonable demand. After practice, I caught Salma in the parking lot. "Can we talk?" I asked. She looked around nervously. "Not here. Library tomorrow?" "I can't stay long. Helen has us doing extra cardio." We met the next day in a quiet corner of the public library. I brought articles, real medical research about nutrition, athletic burnout, and long-term harm caused by extreme dieting. "This is us," I said, pointing to the stories. "This isn't normal, and it's not okay." Salma stared at one image of a former gymnast who'd suffered heart damage from chronic undernourishment. Her voice cracked. "My mom's been worried. I haven't had a period in 5 months. I'm freezing all the time, even in the heat." "That's not okay, Salma. None of this is." She bit her lip. "But what can we even do? Coach Helen holds all the power. If we speak out, we're off the team." "Not if we do it together," I said. "Cynthia's helping me, but we need evidence and more voices." Salma hesitated, then said, "I think I know someone." She reminded me of Aaron, Madison's older brother, who used to record all our competitions. He has footage of her yelling, Of the body shaming. He kept everything. That was a breakthrough I hadn't expected. You think he'd give it to us? We're still friends. I'll ask tonight. Over the next week, we quietly built our case. Aaron came through. His videos clearly showed Coach Helen's behavior at multiple meets. Salma convinced Madison to join us after Helen made her cry during practice for having unprofessional thighs. We were making real progress, but not everyone was ready to speak up. Most of the team was still too afraid. And Kayla? She'd started to get suspicious. She began reporting back to Coach Helen whenever she saw me and Salma together. Then came the blow-up. That Monday, Coach Helen announced something new. From now on, she said, we'll have weekly weigh-ins. Results will be posted publicly, for accountability. Madison raised her hand. Is that really necessary? Coach Helen snapped. If you don't like my methods, there's the door. I've got a waiting list of girls who would do anything to be on this team. Madison burst into tears. Salma put a hand on her back. And I couldn't stay silent anymore. This has to stop, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Coach Helen turned to me, her eyes narrowing. What did you just say? I said, it has to stop. The weigh-ins, the starvation, all of it. It's not coaching, it's abuse. The room froze. Even Kayla looked stunned. Coach Helen gave a dry laugh. Abuse? I'm turning you into champions. This is what elite gymnastics takes. No, I said, my voice steady. I've done the research. Real athletes need fuel. What you're promoting is disordered eating. It's dangerous. Research? She scoffed. Did you get that from your fast food nutritionist? A few girls laughed nervously, but some didn't. Some girls still looked unsure, but others were now watching me differently. I could feel it. Something was shifting. I got that research, I said, from real sports medicine experts, and from former coaches who know this isn't just unethical, it breaks the rules of our regional gymnastics association. Coach Helen's fake smile vanished. That's enough, she snapped. You're off the team. Pack your things and get out. Fine, I replied, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. But before I go, everyone should know, I've been documenting everything. The weigh-ins, the body shaming, the restrictive diets. I'm not the only one. Salma stepped forward. Then Madison moved beside us. There were 3 of us now, standing shoulder to shoulder, and Helen's confidence cracked just a little. This is absurd, she barked. You're just bitter because you can't keep up. We have video, Salma said quietly. From practices, from competitions. Aaron's been filming for years. Coach Helen's face went pale. You've been spying on me? That's illegal. Actually, I said, recording in public spaces, like competition venues, isn't illegal, and reporting abusive coaching practices definitely isn't. Her face turned 5 shades of red in 2 seconds. She pointed at me, at Salma, at Madison. You ungrateful little brats, she hissed. After everything I've done for you, for this team, I made you winners. I stood my ground, even as my heart pounded. No, you made us sick. And there's a big difference. Coach Helen turned to the rest of the team. Don't listen to them. They're just jealous. Some of you are strong enough to do what it takes. Kayla stepped up beside her like a loyal soldier. Coach Helen pushes us because she believes in us. Some people just can't handle it. I looked at her. Really looked. Her leotard was hanging off her bones. Her eyes had dark circles. She looked like one hard landing away from breaking in half. Kayla, I said softly, when was the last time you weren't hungry, or dizzy, or freezing, even when it's hot? Her face flickered with something, doubt maybe. But Coach Helen quickly put an arm around her. Don't let them get in your head, she whispered. You're my star. You know what it takes. Practice ended in chaos. Coach Helen threw the 3 of us out. As we walked out, I turned back. If anyone wants to talk, I said, loud enough to be heard, we'll be at Starbucks after school tomorrow. The gym door slammed shut behind us. That night, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Some teammates were furious, accusing us of ruining everything right before regionals. But others? They were asking questions, quietly, carefully. Even Kayla messaged me, just 2 words. You're pathetic. I didn't sleep much. I kept replaying everything in my head. What if no one showed up tomorrow? What if Coach Helen convinced everyone we were lying? What if it all fell apart? The next day at school, the atmosphere was thick. Teammates avoided me. Some whispered behind my back. In chemistry, I caught Brenda watching me. Our eyes met. She looked away quickly, but not before I saw something in her face. Fear. Or maybe hope. After school, Salma, Madison, and I sat at Starbucks waiting. I braced for disappointment. Then, at 3:45, Brenda walked in. A few minutes later, Catherine followed. Then 2 girls from the junior team. By 4:15, 8 gymnasts were crowded around our little corner table, talking in low voices. Catherine spoke first. Coach Helen made me practice on a sprained ankle, told me I was faking it for attention. She called me Thunder Thighs, a junior girl whispered. At the Christmas showcase, my parents were right there. Brenda looked down. I passed out during conditioning last month. She told everyone I was lazy. One by one, the stories came out. Some girls cried. Some were just angry. I wrote down every detail we could use, dates, names, specific phrases. So what's the plan? Catherine finally asked. Are we really doing this? I nodded. Cynthia, she used to coach at UT. She's helping us. We're filing a formal complaint with the regional association, but we need everything, screenshots, emails, photos. Anything that proves this wasn't just in our heads. I have texts, Brenda said. She calls them motivational, but she handed me her phone. Dozens of messages filled the screen. A moment on the lips is a failure on the beam. Hungry? Good. Champions never feel full. Saw you at lunch today. Hope that sandwich was worth 5 extra minutes tomorrow. My stomach churned. Can I screenshot these? Take whatever you need, she said. By the time we left, we had a real plan. Everyone would gather evidence, whatever they had. In 3 days, we'd meet again. And this time, we'd take it beyond whispers. We were ready to speak loud enough for the whole world to hear. As we were packing up at Starbucks, Catherine touched my arm. What about Kayla? She asked. Should we try talking to her? I hesitated. I don't know. She's so deep in Helen's world, I'm not sure she'll hear us. We should still try, Catherine insisted. She's the one suffering the most. She was right. Even as Coach Helen's star pupil, Kayla looked worse than any of us. Gaunt, exhausted, just barely holding it together. Okay, I said. But we have to be careful. If she tells Helen what we're doing, I'll talk to her, Catherine offered. We were close before all this. The next morning, as I was opening my locker, Kayla appeared beside me. She looked even more fragile up close. Skin pale, lips dry, eyes sunken. Her voice was flat. Catherine said you wanted to talk. Yeah, I said, surprised she was even standing there. Do you have a minute? Not here. Meet me in the band room at lunch. It's empty on Thursdays. All morning I was on edge. Was this a trap? Was Helen behind this? When I walked into the band room, it was just Kayla, alone in a chair looking small under the cold lights. Is it true? She asked. Are you reporting Coach Helen? I nodded. We have to, Kayla. What she's doing isn't okay. She'll deny it. Say we're weak. That we're lying. That's why we have proof. Videos, messages, medical records. I have a journal, she interrupted. My breath caught. What kind of journal? She told me to track everything I eat, my weight, how I feel. She weighs me every morning, in her office before school. And if I don't hit the number she wants, she punishes me. Extra workouts, or worse, she makes me get rid of the food. I felt physically sick. Kayla, that's not coaching. That's dangerous. I know, she whispered. But she convinced me it was the only way I'd be enough. My mom thinks I have an issue. She wants me to see a doctor. Do you think you do? Tears filled her eyes. Probably. Yes, I don't know how to stop. I walked over slowly and placed a hand on her shoulder. She felt like she could break. You're not alone, I said. We can help, but we need your help too. She nodded. She can't find out. She'll ruin me. She won't, I promised. Bring the journal tomorrow. We're meeting after school. That night, I updated Cynthia on everything. The moment she heard about Kayla's daily weigh-ins and food punishment, her tone changed. This crosses every ethical line in the book, she said. If it's true, it's not just about removing Helen. It could involve the school board, or even child protection. The next day dragged. I kept scanning the halls for Kayla, but she wasn't there. After school, I rushed to Starbucks, heart pounding. Everyone else was waiting, but no Kayla. 30 minutes passed. Still nothing. Maybe she changed her mind, Madison said. Or maybe Helen found out, Salma muttered. We kept working, organizing everything into one full report. Aaron's footage showed Helen screaming, mocking girls' bodies, pushing injured athletes to keep going. Catherine had emails, Brenda had texts, Madison had dramatic before and after photos from the past year. We were wrapping up when my phone buzzed, a number I didn't recognize. Coach Helen found Kayla's journal. She's freaking out. Come to the gym, now. My blood ran cold. I showed the others. Catherine stood up immediately. We have to go. The gym was supposed to be closed that day, but as we approached, we could hear the shouting inside. We ran to the window. Helen was waving a notebook in the air, shouting. Kayla was crying, reaching for it. 2 assistant coaches stood nearby, frozen. We burst through the doors just as Coach Helen screamed, You little traitor! After everything I've done for you! She stopped when she saw us. Well, she sneered. The whole crew! Here to cheer on your fearless leader? Give Kayla her journal back, I said, trying to keep my voice from shaking. She laughed, flipping through the pages. This little diary of lies? Poor Kayla, forced to maintain a healthy weight. What a tragedy. Kayla's voice was quiet but steady. It's not healthy. I haven't had my period in 8 months. I'm freezing all the time. I can't sleep. I can't think straight. That's called dedication, Helen snapped. No, said a calm voice behind us. That's called malnutrition. We turned. It was Cynthia, standing in the doorway, with a man in a dark suit beside her. Helen's face twisted. And who are you supposed to be? Cynthia Miller, she said. Former head coach at UT. Then she gestured to the man. And this is Robert Williams from the Regional Gymnastics Association. We received some troubling reports about your coaching methods. And just like that, everything started to change. Coach Helen's face drained of color. These girls are lying, she spat. They just aren't tough enough for elite gymnastics. Robert stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. Elite gymnastics doesn't require starving teenagers, or shaming them, or pushing injured kids to train through pain. Helen turned to her assistant. Tyler, tell them how I run this team. Tyler shifted uncomfortably. Maybe we should discuss this privately. Privately? She shrieked. There's nothing to discuss. These ungrateful girls are trying to destroy everything I built, just because I held them to a standard. While the shouting continued, I stepped closer to Kayla. You okay? I whispered. She gave the faintest nod, her eyes fixed on the journal still clutched in Helen's hand. We need that, I said quietly. It's our strongest piece of evidence. Kayla took a deep breath and lunged. In one motion, she grabbed the journal. Coach Helen tried to snatch it back, but Salma jumped between them. Don't touch her, Salma said, calm but firm. For a second, I thought Helen might actually strike her, but then she seemed to remember she was being watched. She stepped back, breathing hard. This is all a misunderstanding, she said, voice suddenly syrupy sweet. I care deeply about these girls. Sometimes tough love is part of the sport. Cynthia didn't even blink. Tough love doesn't cause trauma or health breakdowns. Robert nodded. Helen, in light of the evidence and allegations, you're officially suspended from coaching pending a full investigation. Please gather your things and leave the premises. Helen froze. You can't do that. Regionals are next week. This isn't a negotiation, Robert replied. An interim coach will be appointed immediately. For a moment, I thought she might scream again, but she didn't. Instead, she pointed at me and Kayla with a look of pure rage. You'll regret this, she hissed. All of you. You're nothing without me. And then she stormed out, slamming the door so hard the trophy shelf rattled. The gym was silent. Then Kayla broke down. Full-on sobs, shoulders shaking, knees buckling. Catherine pulled her into a hug. We all joined, one tangled group holding each other through the fallout. What happens now? Madison asked, looking to Cynthia and Robert. Now, Robert said, we begin a full investigation. We'll need statements, documentation, everything. Cynthia added. And in the meantime, you get back to what gymnastics is supposed to be. Fun, empowering, healthy. The next few weeks blurred together. We all submitted statements. Kayla's journal turned out to be the key. It documented everything. Daily weigh-ins, forced purging, emotional manipulation. It made my stomach turn just reading parts of it. Coach Helen was officially removed 3 weeks later. The school put out a generic statement about new directions, but the truth spread fast. Some parents, especially the ones whose kids had been winning, were angry. But most were shocked once they learned what had really been going on. Cynthia stepped in as our interim coach. The difference? Instant. She talked about strength, not size. She banned weigh-ins entirely. Your weight is between you and your doctor, she said. My job is to build athletes, not shrink them. Kayla struggled the most. Healing isn't instant. Her mom got her into treatment, and she took a break from the sport. But she stayed in touch, sending updates, sharing little victories. We didn't win regionals that year. We placed fourth, not gold, but not broken either. Some girls left, said Cynthia was too soft, but most of us stayed. And little by little, things got better. We laughed again. We had team lunches without tracking every bite. Our periods returned. Our hair stopped falling out. We looked in the mirror and saw teenagers, not ghosts. About 6 months later, I was at the mall with Salma and Madison when we ran into Kayla. She looked different. Her face was fuller. Her skin glowed. Her eyes were bright again. Hey, she said, a little awkward. How's the team? Good, I smiled. Better. Cynthia's teaching us this new floor routine. It's actually fun. Kayla nodded. My therapist says I might be able to come back next season. If I want to. Do you? Salma asked gently. Kayla paused. I think so. I miss it. The real part of it, you know. Not the chaos. We all nodded. We knew exactly what she meant. We miss you, Madison said. And Cynthia would love to have you back. Kayla smiled. A real one. Thanks. That means a lot. As we walked away, I realized something. We didn't just survive Coach Helen. We overcame her. She tried to make us believe we were only valuable if we were hungry, scared, obedient. But we proved her wrong. We stood up. We held each other up. And in the end, we healed. Together.